of brothers here. We're still waiting for others to arrive. Inshallah, welcome back. I hope you all had a nice break. From the beginning of this year, inshallah, we will be following the letters this time from the RISALE-I NUR collection. You might remember just before we went to the break, we completed the first 9 letters from words. First 9 words. Now we are moving on to the book called Letters from the RISALE-I NUR. And we will begin with the first letter, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Ve salatu ve selamu ala eşrefi halk seyyidul enam Muhammedur Resulullah sallallahu teala aleyhi ve sellem. Euzu billahi mineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhaneke la ilme lena illa ma allamtena inneke entel alimul hakim. Subhaneke la fehme lena illa ma fehemtena inneke entel cevadul kerim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yesir li emri ve hlul ukdeten min lisani yefkahu kavli ve ufevvidu emri ilallah innallaha basirun bin ibad. In the name of Allah, the merciful, the compassionate, and from him do we seek help only. So the first letter is based on a question they asked to Bediüzzaman Said Nursi. The question is this: is Khidr alive? You know, the famous personality Khidr. If he is alive, why do some leading scholars do not accept this? There are some scholars who do not accept this. They're asking Bediüzzaman Said Nursi. Khidr, as you know, is mentioned in the Quran not by the name Khidr. The name is not mentioned, but by the person who travels with Musa alayhi salam, the famous, as you know, the incident with Musa alayhi salam. But also throughout Islamic history, many renowned scholars, they said, you know, they sort of testified to Khidr's, you know, being alive as well. But some said he's not alive anymore. There are various views on when Khidr lived. This is another thing. That's another issue too. Some people believe that he lived after Ibrahim alayhi salam. Other people believe that he lived in different eras as well. But the thing is, from my view, I think Khidr alayhi salam is a unique person. We don't know what exactly he is, who he is, but he's a unique person because Allah has shown him maybe some things behind the veil of Qadr. Because Allah has shown to him these things, as you know, in the story of Musa alayhi salam, when he travels as well. You know, he does certain things, and Musa alayhi salam tries to stop him, says, why would you do this? And he says, you know, if you want to travel with me, you keep quiet, you know. And then at the end, he explains all the wisdom behind, the hikmah behind why he did all those things. So Khidr alayhi salam, there are 2 other personalities in the Quran. We are not sure if they were prophets or not. One of them is Khidr alayhi salam, as you know. The other one is Luqman, and the other one is Zulkarnain. These 3 individuals, we are not sure if they were prophets or not. They could have been prophets as well. But since the Quran did not mention it clearly, we don't say they were prophets, but we're not sure. 25 names are clearly mentioned, as you know, in the Quran. So Bediüzzaman Said Nursi answers this question of, you know, is... Okay, then the answer that Bediüzzaman gives is he is alive. Khidr is alive. But there are 5 levels of life. He is at the 2nd level. It is because of this that some religious scholars have been doubtful about his being alive. And he's going to explain those 5 levels of life. The first level of life is the life that we are in, which is very restricted. And it's an interesting term he uses, very restricted, limited, the life we live in. Because we are limited by physics, you know, laws of physics, matter, time, many other things, space, and we cannot go beyond them. That is why our life This life is very limited. And then the second level of life is that of Khidr and Ilyas alayhi salam. As you know, Ilyas is a prophet. May Allah grant them peace, he says, which is free to a certain extent. That is to say, they can be present in numerous places at the same time. Allah gave them this unique thing in that level of life. In fact, I believe that Hızır Aleyhisselam is a time traveler, because he appears in different periods of time throughout history. People see him in very different slices of time. They are not permanently restricted by the requirements of humanity like we are. They can eat and drink like us when they want to, but they are not compelled to eating or drinking like we are. So Hıdır Aleyhisselam and İlyas Aleyhisselam, they are in a different dimension, different level of life, he is saying. And in that dimension, they still have the ability to, if they choose to eat, drink like us, they can do so, he says. But they are not compelled. It is not a necessity for them, like to us. So they can eat and drink like us if they wanted to. Saints who attained to direct vision and knowledge of reality. By saints here, when they translate it into English, they mean walis, awliyaullah, people who attain that spiritual level, who reach and attain that direct vision and knowledge of reality, have reportedly, virtually, unanimously, their adventures with Khidr, and these elucidate and prove this level of life. So he's saying there are many people who are at the level of wali, awliyaullah, and they have all reported their meetings or adventures with Khidr alayhi salam, and this proves the reality of this life. It proves the reality of this life, because it's not one person. You may see people like, for example, Naqshbandi, Imam Naqshbandi, Imam Rufai. There are so many of them that we can give. Mevlana Khalid, Baghdadi, Imam Rabbani. So we hear, testimonies from all of them that they have met Qadr. And they lived at different times too. That's very interesting. And Bediüzzaman Said Nursi says, this is a proof of that second level of life. So there are 5 levels of life. The first one is the one that we are living in, this materialistic life, we can say physical life, which is limited by space-time. There is the second level of life, which Bediüzzaman Said Nursi says, currently within that life, that level, there is Hıdır, and there is Ilyas alayhi salam, who is a prophet. And Ilyas alayhi salam was also raised through the heavens. He did not fully, as I remember, or was it Idris? But Idris alayhi. But Ilyas had this different experience too, so it sort of puts him into the same sort of situation as Khidr. That was Idris alayhi salam. It's going to explain that too anyway. A saint who reaches this level, the second level, or we say, wali, awliya, who reaches this level, receives instructions from Khidr, learns from Khidr, and meets with him. So sometimes it just happens that such a person is mistakenly thought to be Khidr himself. Some scholars or some Muslims, they see this person has that unique qualities and they think that he is Khidr, whereas the person has met Khidr and learned from Khidr, he says. So the third level of life, different levels of life, the third level of life is the life, or is the maybe dimension, we could say, where Idris and Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, lives. That's another level of life. May Allah be pleased with them both. And which is removed from the requirements of humanity altogether. So Idris alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, in Islamic teachings, they were, of course, both prophets, and they were both, ascended through the heavens before they died. Idris alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam. And they are taken to this place, another realm, another world, but it is not the Akhirat yet. It's not the life after yet, but they are in a different world, which is uh, where requirements of human necessities is not a requirement for them anymore. It's removed from them. They don't need to eat, drink, sleep, things like that. It is an angelic level of life, similar to that of angels, and requires a luminous fineness. Luminous fineness. So what he's saying that their body is structured in a different way there. Luminous fineness. Quite simply, Idris and Isa alayhi salam are present in the heavens somewhere, in the universe somewhere, with their earthly bodies, because they've been ascended, but which have the subtlety of bodies from the world of similitudes and the luminosity of astral bodies. So he's saying, in a way, their bodies are similar to made up of nur, some sort of nur. So they were lifted with their physical bodies, but because physical bodies need to survive, they need to eat, drink, since they are in a different world where they don't need these things, sustenance and various other things, their bodies have been transformed into more luminous bodies. Luminous bodies. There is a hadith that states, at the end of time, in Ahir Zaman, at the end of time, Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, peace and blessing be upon him, will come back and will act in accordance with the Sharia of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So he will follow the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, the Quran and the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. This indicates that the end of times, end times, the religion of Christianity will be purified and divest itself from superstition in the face of the current of unbelief and atheism, born of naturalist philosophy, and will be transformed into Islam. So coming of Isa alayhi salam, what he's saying, Bediüzzaman Said Nursi, represents, because Messiah, Christianity is represented by Messiah, Isa alayhi salam. And Islam is represented by Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. But Christianity is at the moment have a lot of false beliefs in it, like Trinity, various other things. And it has moved away from Tawheed, oneness of Allah, unity of Allah. So he's saying, in a way, Jesus' return, Isa alayhi salam return, means Christianity will purify itself from this superstition. All these wrong beliefs, they will eventually unite with Islam. They will unite. That's what he's saying. And return of Isa, in one way, it means this. In one way. Right?
End of time.
This is close towards the end of times. We don't know exactly, because, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains certain things to us in the Quran, for him, there is no such a thing as time. He creates space-time. So Allah could say, for example, I'm just giving an analogy. Allah could say, Qiyamah will come within a blink of an eye. But that's Allah saying that. Maybe that blink of an eye could be 100,000 years. We don't know. Do you know what I mean? So we cannot put a certain time on it. That is why when, Jibril alayhi salam, angel Gabriel, the archangel, when he asked Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam a series of questions, one of them was, when is the time of the doomsday, Qiyamah? And the Prophet said, the one who asks does not know more than the one who is being asked. So he's saying to the angel, you don't know too. That's what it means. I don't know, but you don't know too. It's the truth. It's only Allah who knows when the time will come. So this is quite interesting, the way he interprets this as well. Because the coming of Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, return of Messiah, is one of the signs of Qiyamah. It will happen towards the end, and it's in the Quran too. It is not just in the Hadith, it's in the Quran too. There is a verse which indicates to that. But, we don't know the essence of this coming back. Exactly. Nobody knows. Is it fully physical return? This is possible too, only Allah knows. Or does it have some metaphorical meaning where he says it could be this as well? It could be, indicating that Christianity and Islam will unite in Tawheed, oneness of Allah. There are some people trying to block that. It will happen, but there are some people trying to stop that. They're working on Christians and Muslims at the same time. So, yes, at that, this indicates that at the end of times, Christianity will be purified and they will, remove themselves away or distance themselves away from unbelief, atheism, and naturalism, philosophical ideas about atheism and things like that. And they will transform into the Tawheed, religion of Tawheed. He says Islam, because the term Islam, if you write it normally, if you write it with a capital I, it is like a noun, the name of the religion. But if you just write it with a normal I, Islam means submission. It means surrendering to God. So from that perspective, if you look at the meaning, throughout history, all those religions, Christianity, Judaism, they were all Islam. Always. Adem alayhi salam followed Islam. Dawood alayhi salam followed Nuh, followed Islam. They were all Islam because they all surrendered. So when you look at the meaning, that's what it means. So they will all return to that Tawheed, religion of Tawheed. At that point, on the one hand, the collective personality of Christianity will kill the fearsome collective personality of irreligion, atheism, disbelief, with the sword of heavenly revelation. When people look at the hadiths, they say Messiah will come, it will kill the Dajjal with the sword. He says that's what it means. It's metaphor. So he's saying that they will kill the idea of disbelief, which is supported by Dajjal. In Christianity, they say Antichrist, they call it. Disbelief, atheism, all of these ideologies, which is spreading all over the world today. That's what Isa alayhi salam's collective personality will do. It will destroy their ideology. Who represents Dajjal, who represent the collective personality of disbelief, religion. And that is, he will kill the atheistic thought. So it is not a killing, by taking out sword and chopping people up. No. It is removing that ideology from their minds and proving otherwise. That's what it is, really. This was the third level of life, Isa alayhi salam and Idris. Yeah. The fourth level of life is the life of martyrs, shaheed. People who died on the path of Allah, serving religion. Not only in battles, martyrdom could come in various other ways too. For example, there's a hadith where the Prophet says, if a woman dies during giving birth, she becomes a martyr, shaheed. So it can happen in many other ways, You jump in your car, you turn your engine on, you're going to Jummah, for example, to prayer, or you're coming to sohbet. With the intention of, getting rewards from Allah. If something happens to you on the way, you're considered as shaheed, martyr. But usually people only understand it as people who fight. They are martyrs, so that's different. According to the Quran, the martyrs are at the level of life higher than that of the other people who have died, which are in their graves. When it's graves, he's saying alemi berza, because people are moved to another place. Since they sacrifice their worldly lives in the way of haq, truth, in his perfect munificence, Allah's, Allah the Almighty bestows upon them in the intermediate realm, which is Barzakh, Alemi Barzakh, because everyone who dies goes into that world realm. But Allah bestows upon these martyrs a different place in there, a life which is resembling the earthly life. It's a bit similar to here. Martyrs they are put in there. And it's a life a bit similar to here, similar in some ways to here. And but minus or without the sorrows and hardship. So they don't have hardship, they don't have difficulties, they don't have pain, they don't have suffering that we go through. It looks like this world, but only the enjoyments. There is no minuses. That's for martyrs, you know. Hey?
Also mentioned in the Quran.
Of course, don't say to them dead. That's what the Quran says. Shaheeds are not dead. So, but here's the interesting thing. They do not know they do not know themselves to be dead, and suppose only that they have gone to a better place, but they don't realize they're dead. Enjoying themselves in perfect happiness, they do not suffer any pains of separation that accompany death, because, you know, after death, you have separation as well, but they don't feel that. For sure, the spirits of the dead are immortal. No spirit dies. When we die, our souls do not die. But they do not know they are dead. The martyrs, shaheeds. That is why the Quran says, don't call them dead. The happiness and pleasure they experience in the intermediate world, in Barzakh, Alemi Barzakh, are not equal to the martyr's happiness. Which means the normal people who passed away, even if they are, you know, good believers, they practice, what they experience in the Alemi Barzakh is not equal to the, you know, the experiences of the martyrs. Martyrs are higher. Like if two men in their dreams, two people, think about, in their dreams enter a beautiful palace. They're both dreaming, resembling a paradise. One knows that he is dreaming. The other one, because he knows, the first one knows that it's in a dream, the pleasure and enjoyment he receives is deficient. It's not perfect, because he knows it's a dream. He knows he's going to wake up from that one day. He thinks, if I wake up, all of these enjoyment, pleasures will disappear. While the other man is unaware that he is dreaming, and he experiences true pleasure and delight. So this is the difference between a martyr and normal person. Thus, the martyrs partake of life in the intermediate realm differently to the other dead who has passed away. It has been definitely established by innumerable incidents and narrations that they manifest life in a way described above and suppose themselves to be alive. Indeed, their life or level of life has been illuminated and proved on numerous occasions by such occurrences as, for example, Hamza radiallahu anh, He is the Lord of martyrs, protecting those who have recourse to him, and he's performing and making perform tasks in this world. Sometimes people get into serious problems, and this has happened a lot in the past. And when they say, Ya Hamza, and Hamza appears and so helps them. It has happened many times because he is the father of all martyrs. So they are not really dead. Sometimes Allah gives them these abilities, like Hamza. And now he's going to talk about something that happened to himself, Bediüzzaman Said Nursi. I myself even had a nephew and a student. He was also my student and my nephew. His name was Ubaid. He was killed at my side and in my place and became a martyr. This is during when the Ottomans were fighting the Russians. And the First World War, when they were fighting the Russians. And Bediüzzaman was on the front too, Said Nursi. And his nephew died next to him. Then when I was being held as a prisoner of war at a place for 3 months, so at a place 3 months distance away, I entered his grave in a dream, true dream, in a dream, which was a sort of dwelling place under the earth, although I did not know where he was buried. But he went into his grave in a dream. I saw him living the martyr's life, the level of life. He evidently thought that I was dead. And and said he had grieved over me. He felt bad because he thought I was dead. He evidently thought I was dead. He thought he was alive. That's what the Quran says anyway. But having retreated before the Russian invasion, had made himself a good home under the ground, a safe place under the ground. He thinks he's still alive. Thus, owing to such indications, my unimportant dream, he says unimportant, but it's a true dream, convinced me about the above mentioned truth as certainly as having witnessed it myself. So he's saying it's guaranteed that martyrs do not realize they're dead. They think they're still living. So Bediüzzaman Said Nursi was captured by the Russians during that war. And they put him into a concentration camp. You know how they used to have prison camps, sorry. And there are some very interesting incidents there as well. Like one day, one of the generals, they came, he was the Tsar's man, and he was walking around by the prisoners. They all stood up, in thing position, and Said Nursi was just sitting. The man said, why isn't he standing, saluting me? I have a big rank, Russian general, And then he would refuse to stand up, And then they walked next to him, they were going to put him into a firing squad. They were going to kill him. And the general asked, why aren't you standing up? He said, because I'm a believer, you're a disbeliever. My rank is higher than you. Clear, directly. And the guy actually was going to get him killed, executed. And then he said, okay, but if you're going to take my life, he said, this is a big blessing for me because I will become a martyr. Can you give me a little bit of time so I can make 2 rakats and say thank you to Allah for being martyred? They said, okay. So he actually started praying, and the guy watched him, the general, and he said, no, this guy is sincere. It's not because he's disrespectful to me, but he's sincere in what he's saying. So he changed his mind. But he was like that, when he returned to Turkey, because he escaped from the camp, he returned to Turkey, first to Istanbul and other parts of Turkey. And then This time the Turkish government then started persecuting him because they changed the system, the secularism and all these things, and they started persecuting him. He was a hero, and they taken him to court and things like that, for explaining Islam and things like that. There is an incident, where they brought him into the court. They made him walk through 14 people hanging. Already they have executed. Dead bodies. He walked through them.
So that people.
Yeah, so they wanna get him psychologically. And he appeared by the judge. And the judge said, are you defending the same thing like those people out there? Like this, like Sharia and things like that. And then he had this watch, with the chain.
Yes.
And he took it out. He said, oh, it's Asr time. I gotta pray. Didn't even answer the thing. I gotta pray. He had no fear of death. He was a very interesting man. And then when he finished prayer, he started explaining what he wants. He explained what Islam is, what Sharia is, and things. At the end, the judge said, what you're explaining, I believe the same thing. And they released him. So very unique man, So as you can see, there's the fourth level of life, which is the martyrs, shaheeds. And then the fifth level of life, which is like us, normal people. The fifth level of life is that of the spirits of the dead in their graves. So when we die, we go to that fifth level of life. Yes, death is a change of residence. Death is a change of residence. The liberation of the spirit, because your spirit is caught in this cage, liberation of the spirit in this world. A discharge from duties. It's a discharge from duties. People who done their army will know what I'm talking about. Like in Turkey, we used to do long term. The army military service was like, first it was 2 years and then 16 months, I think people still do about 16 months now. Yeah. Unless you're overseas, you pay, you do a less. But when you do a long-term military service, let us say you've been in the military for 2 years, and when you complete your duty, walking out of that door, it's called Nizami. As soon as you walk out, it's like you're a bird, because you're always under command. They tell you what time to sleep, what time to eat, what time to get up. All of these under control. As soon as you walk out, it's like a bird coming out of the cage. You feel that freedom. And he's saying here, it is a discharge from duty. So this world is like that too. We're like in the military service, isn't it? We have to fast every Ramadan. We have to pray 5 times a day. All of these obligatories are duties. So it is a discharge from duties. It is not annihilation. You don't go into non-existence. And going into nothingness, it is not death. Many evidences illuminate and prove this level of life. You move on to another life, which is barzakh, such as the innumerable occasions the spirits of saints, waliullah, have assumed forms and appeared to those to unveil the realities. And the other dead have communicated with us while awake or sleeping, and have told us of things that are comfortable with reality. In fact, in the 29th word in the words, which is about the immortality of human's spirit, demonstrates this level of life with incontrovertible proofs, he says, undeniable proofs. And this is very interesting too, what he's saying. So sometimes we have that connection with the people who have passed away. You probably, all of you, I don't know, you might have had it, but with our mothers, fathers who have passed away. It's strange, 5 years passes, One night you're still sleeping, you see your father, you're still talking to him. You see your mother in your dream, you're still talking to them. It's been all those times, you know what I mean? No, normally that shouldn't happen, but you still have that connection. It's very interesting. Like, my wife, she keeps on reading the Quran, keeps on every day. And she says, I send the rewards to, to the Prophet and, to the companions, all this. And she goes, I send it to your mother and father as well, my mother and father. Every time she keeps on seeing them in her dream. It's very interesting. She must have seen them like 100 times since they died. I only seen them few times, and I'm their son. So there is some sort of a connection there. You know, it's very interesting. So that's what he's saying, because they're not really, gone, because their spirits are alive. They are in a different world. That's why that correct connection is not severed. I'll read this part too, and then we can conclude, inshallah, and we can continue next week. Second question, who creates death and life that he may try you? Which of you is the best in conduct? This is in Surah Mulk, as you know. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Verses like this in the all-wise Quran, the criterion of truth. The Quran is the criterion of truth and falsehood. It distinguishes what is truth, what is false. Make it understood that death is created like life. Death is something that is created just like life. It is too a bounty, is a favor. Some people say, how can death be a favor? It is a favor. Just imagine if we weren't able to die, what would happen? Just imagine, we keep on getting old, getting old. We come to the stage that we cannot even stand up, eat for ourselves, can't even go to the toilet, can't even wash ourselves. We beg others to do it for us, you know. And there are people in those conditions. And you keep on getting older, but you can't die. Imagine that. So death is a blessing. It is a blessing. And on top of that, the world's population would keep on increasing, keep on increasing, keep on increasing. Billion, billion, billion, no more food. You can't eat. You're suffering, but you can't die. So death is a bounty. But on the face of it, death is dissolution. It looks like it's non-existent. It looks like it's decay. It looks like it is extinction of life, annihilator or annihilator of pleasures. Otherwise, Adrian will correct me. He's here online. So how can it be created and a bounty? When you look at death on the outside, it looks like scary. It looks like the end of pleasures, end of life, end of everything. The answer, as it was stated at the end of the answer to the first question, death is a discharge from the duties of life. It is a rest, a change of residence, a transformation of existence. It is an invitation. It is an invitation to an eternal life. That is why it's a blessing. A beginning, not an end. The introduction to an immortal life, just as life comes into the world through an act of creation, and it is appointed and determined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so departure from the world is created and determined and planned wisely and purposely as well. Just as there is miracles, the creation of life is a miracle, creation of death is a miracle too. It's all planned. The ways that, for example, plants die, plant life being the simplest of life forms, show their deaths to be more orderly work of art than life itself. For although the death of fruits, seeds, and grains appears to occur through their decay and dissolution, it is in fact a sort of kneading that comprises exceedingly well-ordered chemical reactions and a balanced combining of elements and wise formation of particles. Their unseen, orderly, and wise deaths appear through the life of the new shoots. So yes, we look, animals, seeds, plants, all of these things die, but their death, especially if you look at the seeds of trees, they decompose, yeah? Their death gives new trees, opens a path to a new life. That is to say, the death of a seed is the onset of the shoot's life. Indeed, since its death is like itself, it is created and regular, the same as life is. So it is same as life. Death is mahluk as well, something Allah's creation as well. Moreover, the death of living fruits or animals in the human stomach is the beginning of their rising to the level of human life. You know, you eat a lamb, or you eat a fruit or something, you know, their death, when they come into your body, you know, you digest it, they become part of you. They have gone up a level. Their level has been risen, yeah. So it may therefore be said that being thus, their death is more orderly, more perfect, and created than is their life. Their death is more perfect than their life. If death of a plant, the lowest level of life, is created, wise, and ordered in that way, the death that befalls human life, the highest level of life, must be the same. Similarly, as a seed sown into the ground, becomes a tree in the world of the air, so a man or a human being who is laid in the earth will surely produce the shoots of an everlasting life in the intermediate realm. So even if Allah does not even waste a seed, doesn't waste it, Allah turns it into a huge tree again, gives, you know, new life comes out of it. Do you think he says, you know, a valuable, the highest level, who are the humans, do you think Allah is going to, you know, after they die, make them just worm food, decompose them, never to exist again? Would that make sense? He doesn't even waste a seed. If we are the highest level of life, according to Quran, and we can see it scientifically too on earth, that means our death will be as miraculous as our life. There will be a reason for our deaths. It will, you know, follow something. Something will be followed by it, something greater. Inshallah. I'll stop there because as on times come to, inshallah, we can go down and pray as well. Thank you, everyone online, for your participation as well. We are back. And inshallah, we'll see you next week. We will follow letters, RISALE-I NUR, from where we left, inshallah.